So for those who haven't been following on my Twitter, the recent McChangeables that came from the 40th anniversary McDonald's promotion have launched. And it's been a mad frenzy for a lot of people to try to get these. Before I get into the whole story with this and why I'm doing this segment, a shout out to Seabass the Crab on Twitter, trying to hook me up with these. He was going out of his way to try to get me some of them. But it's cool. I managed to get him, Seabass, but thanks for the effort. Thanks for keeping an eye out and being a fan of the podcast. So the story is, all right, so leading up to this, I know that this was going to be a limited promotion. There weren't going to have a lot of them. And many years ago, I don't know if anyone I've mentioned this ever on the podcast, I used to work in fast food many years ago, more than 10 years ago. And I was there for quite a bit. I was working at Burger King, and I know how that system works. And one of my best buddies, at the same time while I was working at Burger King, he worked at McDonald's. And it was the same madness, the same headache. I could tell you so many stories from those many years working there. Anyways, but the point is that I knew how that whole system worked when it came to toys and stuff. And when they do these limited promotion toys, I know how crazy it gets, especially with collectors. And I know it sounds nuts for McDonald's toys and Happy Meal toys, but there's a crazy collector base for this kind of stuff, especially in the modern age of scalping and the internet. So what I'm going to use this segment for essentially is to break down the facts and realities about these two figures as a Transformer collector, what exists, like what you could expect when going into stores, what you could do, some facts, some truths, because the reality is that you're going to have employees that are going to be lying to you on many levels. I used to do it all the time. We were forced to. We had to make, all kinds of concessions to appease, customers by not telling the truth, especially when it comes to fast food promotion toys on this limited nature. Just before I jump into that, back in the day at Burger King, when the Star Wars movies were coming out, every single Star Wars movie had some kind of chase Darth Vader figure. It was like a breathing Darth Vader figure. And we would have Star Wars collectors that would come in going, do you have the Chase Vader? And they were like 4 per case of 300 figures. And we had to lie to them that like, oh, sorry, sir, that case doesn't have it or whatever, because chances are we didn't want to, we weren't supposed to let them pick and we weren't supposed to let them choose. And obviously, like, me, if I had the time and my boss wasn't around, I'd help them out. And I'd be, oh, you want the Chewbacca? Oh, you want this one? Help out a mom. But, these big corporations, they don't really care. Just give us your money, get the hell out. So I'm going to give you the whole skinny with this. Now, first thing I want to talk about is just the truth of how this works. Now, how it works is that there's 18 toys, except for in some regions, there's only 16 because of licensing with Disney. Now, how it works exactly is they get all the toys in one shot. There's not like, oh, we only have toys 1 to 5. In this case, in next week's case, we're going to get 6 to 10 or something, which is common with a lot of fast food where it's a weekly thing. They get everything in one shot. So the first thing is if they tell you, oh, maybe next case we'll have it. That's not true. They get everything in one shot. How it works is there's eight units of each one of these figures per case. So every single location only gets one case, and that one case only gets 8 of each unit, and that's it for those 3 days. That is it. So it is super limited. So if you go there and there's no more, quarter pounder McChangeable or what, well, its real name, hamburger today, but we'll get into that afterwards. That's it. There's only the 8. That one's done, unless they're too lazy to go back there. And you'll have that. What I would suggest when you go into the McDonald's, find a manager. Talk to the manager. Don't talk to an employee at the cash. They're looking at the clock. They want to get out of there. Last thing they want to do is help you find your platypus tie Beanie Baby 40th anniversary McDonald's thing. Find a manager, ask him, and hope that you get a manager that's enthusiastic and is willing to do it. Second advice I'll give you, do it during the breakfast shift if you can. There's less traffic there. It's not as busy. It's usually just old timers that, getting their free coffee essentially. You're not holding up everybody while they're digging through toys for a specific number. Number 3, about the numbers. They're going to tell you, oh, the figures are blind packed. Yes, they are, in theory. They all are, McDonald's toys in the past had a clear kind of packaging. so you could kind of see the toy, and they would sometimes have the name of the toy on it. These ones are all white. You can't see the toy on the inside, but each bag is clearly numbered, saying toy 1, toy 2, toy 3. And on the packaging also, they'll say like toy 1, and then it'll say from and the year where it came from. So like to give an example, the McChangeable Quarter Pounder, it would say toy number 1, and it would say from 1987. And, the Happy Meal Odon, the dinosaur Happy Meal box McChangeable, it'll say toy number 5, and it'll say originally from or released from 1990. So there's ways to identify them. They have a number code on it. If you go back to my first video, which maybe I'll link it in the description below, not in the description, in the comments, it has the little list of all the toys with their numbers. But anyways, point is that you could actually educate them because we had to. And when I say we, so how did I get these? So I showed these to my sister. My sister was a big fan of those toys growing up. She had a lot of connections to those. Me and her used to get McDonald's all the time. My dad at one point was actually, doing the construction for a McDonald's, and so we had a lot of McDonald's toys growing up. A lot of them. My grandmother too would also go there for the coffee. So the point is, me and her went on a mad chase for these. And anyone who's met my sister at TFCon, she's not hard on the eyes. So my sister is very good at manipulating men into getting her what she wants, pretty much. So we went to a lot of McDonald's, and we hit a lot of dead ends where we would ask them, and they legitimately just didn't have it. But when we would finally get one, we would have to educate them because it'd be like, yeah, we do have them, but sir, they're blind packed, so we don't know what you're getting. And then we would literally open up our phone and go, actually, sir, this is how it works. And some of them were actually quite surprised. They're like, oh, well, we didn't know that. So you have to educate them too about the number system because they don't know. Partially, they don't care, and I don't blame them. It's a low-paying job that's not exactly super cerebral, and having all these lunatics asking for toys, it could be a little tiresome, but educate them on this. It'll also help you get them. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is what is different about these releases from the original releases. And you'd be surprised because it seems that the toy number 1, the hamburger, if you will, is going to be a little more in demand than we think because it's actually very different from the original. Before I get into that one, let's talk about toy number 5. So the Happy Meal Odon, a.k.a. the Happy Meal box that turns into the dinosaur, he came from the McDino Changeables. That was in 1990. It was a dinosaur McChangeables line, which were repaint retools of the previous McChangeables, but now into dinosaurs. The difference between the original, and the only reason why I'm talking about this is just because in the future, if you encounter these in the wild, you'll be able to tell which is the original and which is the reissue. The reissue and the original are almost exactly the same of the McDino one. The only way to really tell is on the inside of the toy. The original one used to use metal screws for the legs. For the reissue, it's plastic. There's like a plastic rivet joint for the legs instead. And of course, also the easiest way to tell is on the right side dino leg, you have the date marker. On the original, it says 1990 McDonald's. On the reissue, it says 2019 McDonald's. Aside from that, it's very little. If you have them next to each other, you could see that there's minor paint differences, but it's more just, I guess, the way that machines and factories put on the paint today and the quality. The reissue is a little more glossier than the original, but I think it also might have to do with the fact that mine's a very old toy and maybe just time and oxygen had its way with it. But the point is that if you were like holding it in your hand and you didn't have a reference of the one next to it, you wouldn't notice the difference. So look for that date stamp on the right dino leg or the back of the Happy Meal box, or look for the screw on the inside of the body. The reissue does not have screws. They didn't bother with metal. It's understandable. Now, 01, the Quarter Pounder McChangeable toy 01, there's big differences there. The original had a sesame seed bun. It had cheese on it. It had little details that were a little more sharper on the mold. So there's a lot of differences there. Where the reissue, they got rid of the sesame seeds on the bun. They got rid of the cheese. It has lettuce instead, and it's not as sharp, the details. And of course, obviously, if you look under the figure, you're going to see instead of 1987, you're going to see 2019. But the easiest way to tell without even having to touch the figure is the reissue has no sesame seed bun and lettuce. The original has a sesame. That's such a tongue twister. Sesame seed bun and cheese on it. So one is a quarter pounder with cheese, and one is now your traditional hamburger. So it's actually technically a new mold and possibly a new character. So the original McChangeable was McChangeable quarter pounder, and this one, I guess we could call it McChangeable value meal hamburger, I guess, if you want to call it that. So that one, because it's a little different, will probably have more of a collectible demand from people because, well, maybe people might want to own the reissues, but if you're a completist, you have your set already. This is a variant. This is something that's different that looks very different from the other one outside of the robot mode. From the naked eye, you look at the robot mode and you go, oh, they're the same, but there is the subtle differences. I'm going to post, the images were on my Twitter. Man, one of them went really viral. A lot of big names in the toy community got on this and they started retweeting it. So it got all over the place. But if you haven't seen these images, I'll post them here in the segment and you'll get to see a side-by-side. And yeah, it's pretty crazy. So if you could get it, this is the information I presented to you guys. So there's only one case per store, 8 units per character per case. So that's it for that store. And when they're done, they're done. There also is a Happy Meal box that has like all the 40th anniversary stuff on it. So you could there's a little McChangeable on the Happy Meal box with, Bugs Bunny and all the other characters. So there's also that little extra thing if you want to track that down too. There's also a Happy Meal box if they have, I think there's only 100 units of that. So that runs out too. So just a reminder of all of that. Keep an eye out for it. It's going to be a difficult thing. You still have 1 day left as of this recording to get it. Sunday is the last day. So now that I've gathered all this information, I've lived this, I've done the journey. Me and my sister she got her Power Ranger, she got her Platypus, she got her McNugget buddies, and I got my McChangeables. And so that being said, we're all happy. We're passing this information that we've learned now down to you guys, and you guys could get out there and possibly find what is potentially left of this. I know I do get a feeling I'm possibly going to be finding these in the future loose out there. Who knows? You never know. You might find them in the future loose. But there is one more thing to mention that I have discovered, and I'm not too sure the reasoning behind this. There is a mint and sealed package variant of the toy number 1. You have some of them that says just 40 with the number on it, and then you have some of them that says 40, and the O or the 0 for the 40 is a Happy Meal box instead. I don't know what the story is with that. Toy number 1 has a variant with that. Some of the other toys have been reported too that have that 40 variant. So there's supposedly the sealed product. There's variants in the sealed product. There's 2 different versions of that. If that doesn't complicate things enough for completists and collectors. But so keep that in mind too. Anyways, that's all I want to say about that. Definitely check that out. And I'll keep you guys posted if I learn any more about this. If not, just follow me on Twitter @Protoman, and I'll always be posting some of the latest weirdest stuff too.